I'm Dr. Charlotte Allender. I am head of the UK Vegetable Gene Bank, which is based at the University of Warwick in the UK. Brassica crops are hugely important on a global basis. They provide a significant amount of vegetable oils, but they are also cultivated as a range of vegetable crops. And vegetables are a key part of a healthy and nutritious diet. So Brassica species have a really important role to play in ensuring the health of populations and increasing and supporting consumption of crops like Brassica will help address the health burdens that many populations face in terms of non-communicable diseases that can be addressed by improvements in diet. So the strategy covers quite a wide range of topics related to Brassica conservation. So we introduce the scope of the strategy. Our strategy actually covers conservation of 6 different Brassica species, the main cultivated Brassica crop species. So we provide an overview of the domestication and the biology of those crops and the global use production levels of those crops as well, as a background to the information on plant genetic resources for Brassica conserved across the world. We also summarize holdings of Brassica material in gene banks and other collections across the world. And we summarize the collection manager's views on availability, conservation in terms of storage conditions. And then we go on to identify where there are particular needs to improve the conservation of and access to that germplasm. These genetic resources are fundamental to improve global food security because they are the raw material of plant breeding activities. So in order to address the challenges of sustainable agriculture in the future, we need access to the genetic diversity represented by those collections. And a strategy for their conservation is essential in order to make sure that these collections are conserved well and effectively and available for use in the future. The Brassica strategy was developed in order to help assist an understanding of the current status of Brassica collections, what current challenges are and what future priorities might be from the point of view of collection holders and those that work closely with them. So the work was done in collaboration with the Crop Trust and began with a identification of key Brassica collections across the world using the existing data portals, so Views and Genesis. And based on the information there, we prepared a survey for collection holders to tell us about their collections, including things like the availability of their material, the conditions of storage, and what threats and opportunities they see for their collections into the future. We collated the responses to those surveys and invited the respondents to participate in a workshop to discuss the responses further and to actually start to draw together some themes regarding future priorities and key areas of interest. Then we made a first draft of the strategy, shared those with the respondents too, so that they could input, and then the final draft of the strategy was prepared and published. Strategy has a huge value for the contracting parties of the plant treaty because it signposts what is needed to conserve Brassica genetic resources effectively and efficiently. And it highlights where further investment is perhaps needed to bring conservation standards up to agreed guidelines by the FAO and other organisations. And it actually summarises the state of conservation of Brassica crops in terms of the material available in gene banks. So it's a really good starting point, both for users and policymakers to understand the current status. It's necessary for governments from contracting parties to the treaty to understand the challenges of the conservation of genetic resources and be aware of particular issues in organisations that conserve and manage genetic resources in their own countries. This will help identify funding needs and priorities for action. And it will also help contracting parties develop networks and undertake, where necessary, capacity building and sharing of activities to ensure that Brassica genetic resources are effectively and efficiently conserved. The recommendations of the strategy will help ensure that the material in the multilateral system remains available and is conserved to good standards and can be accessed and used by interested parties. It's necessary for well-managed collections of genetic resources, including Brassica, to be properly documented. This strategy surveyed collection holders on their information management system, and it highlighted where there may be differences between local records and kind of global data portals such as Genesis. So actually improving the coherence of records that can be easily accessed and material that can be used through the multilateral system will actually really help to ensure that these genetic resources can be sustainably used for the benefit of global agriculture.